The season finale for the 2021 FIA Karting European Championship brings us to scorching Spain on the Circuito Internacional de Zuera, a few miles from the ancient city of Zaragoza. Freddie Slater and Andrea Kimi Antonelli are on the verge of sealing their European crowns they've been fighting for since Genk. But after great races at Esse and Sarno, it's time for the gladiators of the direct drive karting fraternity to battle for the junior and OK titles. Let battle commence! Let's lap the Zuera circuit with local star Santiago Valve. Into turn 1 you need the perfect line as you're flat on the throttle and the marbles on the outside can throw you off the road. Into turn 2, firm on the brakes and early back on the power to bring you a strong presence through the left flick. Now into the first big braking zone. The turn 4 hairpin has an exit that opens out, so you need to time the throttle right. Now for one of the toughest corners in karting. Turn 5 demands respect, patience and trust in the balance of the chassis as you need to carefully blend the throttle with gradual turning. Out of the left and into the tight right-hander. Then you're back on the power up to another tight entry for the hairpin at turn 7. But once more the corner opens at the exit, so you can build up the speed progressively through the next right-hander. Now you're approaching a triple right apex. You miss the first, then try to catch the second before keeping the kart solid through the third. Gradually guide the kart into the next 2 left-handers, which are the last braking point on the circuit. You need to be wise in the next right and kiss the curb without actually riding it, as the acceleration can continue to build as the kart storms down the home straight. A whisker over a mile, and in the Spanish heat, it's very hard to tame.
Definitely found the speed that we've got now. The testing's going very well so far. It's still early days. The season's been good. Obviously, Genk was very good, dominated a little bit. Obviously, it was a tough start at the start of that race, but then managed to bring it back. Sarno was an up and down weekend, struggled a bit with the kart, a few little incidents, and that didn't really help a lot. But then we managed to bring it back, and one big mistake is what cost us that win. So it's a mistake I'll never make again. I'll learn from it, and then we come into Zuera and
Heading into the final, Freddie Slater has been unbeaten across the 5 heats. But his 2 closest championship rivals, Matías Ferreira and Alex Powell, will start right next to him at the head of the grid. Plus, there are 33 other drivers who want to end their season on a high, at the longest circuit in the European Championship. Freddie Slater grabbed the advantage from pole position, whilst Matías Ferreira would lose ground to Alex Powell, Tomasz Stolczymanis and Jan Pesadowski. Through turn 2, everybody kept it on the road except for Maciej Gledij, who would rejoin at the back of the field. Slater was adopting bold tactics from the outset, attempting to back up the field and force them to battle so he could get clear out front. But he would have to work very hard for the win today. The race would claim its first victim halfway round the opening lap, as Josh Erfen spun out. Back at the head of the pack, the top 4 were already starting to stretch away, but little did the quartet know that only one of them would actually make it to the podium. Powell attempted to take the lead, but Slater was wise to the move. There was enough momentum lost for Stolczymanis to climb to second place, and it would be the young Latvian who would now challenge for the lead. The Belgians were having a great race, as Zuera made his move on Pesadowski, and Ian Eichmans was lining up his own overtaking move. So the order was now Slater, Stolczymanis, Powell, Dedecker and Pesadowski. Behind Ferreira, the Paralin teammates Rashid Aldaheri and Maxim Orlov were having a tough duel with James Egozzi. Whilst at the end of the lap, Dedecker passed his teammate Powell, moving the Belgian into 3rd position, and on the toughest overtaking spot on the whole circuit too. Powell wasn't about to let the move go, and despite Dedecker's protestations, the Jamaican would reclaim the position into turn 4 on lap 3, whilst Eichmans made his move on Pesadowski. So Powell was now 3rd, and Ian Eichmann's was up to 5th. De Decker tried again, but Powell wouldn't budge, and the door was left ajar for Eichmann's to take away the position instead. De Decker would drop behind Pisodowski, but only for one corner, as the Kart Republic driver found the gap to retaliate, and Paralin's Rashid Al-Daheri overtook as well. But the leaders were slowly edging away. Eichmann's could smell a place on the podium, and soon made his move on Powell, only to lose the position on the exit. Behind them, there was pandemonium, and sadly it would take out championship contender Matías Ferreira, along with Jan Puchu, Harley Keeble, Konstantin Krapin and Mark Kastelich. The Brazilians' dreams of winning the championship were officially over. With the pressure off, Slater could now settle down and enjoy his last race. But after having his clean sweep taken away at Essay, the world champion wanted to claim the European title unbeaten at Zuera. However, Stolchemanis was eager to take his first win. David Walter joined the retirement list, which was growing larger all the time. Lucas Samalisto would be the next one to retire, but his incident was more severe, as it also ended the race for William McIntyre, Max Popov and Anatoly Kavalkin. Quick work from the marshals ensured that the race could continue, but with Shudazono and Maxim Rem out too, the list of retirements was incredibly up to 13. At half distance, Stolchemanis decided to take the lead, especially now that the pack had caught him. Eichmann seemed to think it was easy enough to overtake himself, and his move left the door open for Alex Powell too. Just like that, Slater was down to P4, and if he wasn't careful, Al-Daheri would move ahead too. Drivers were starting to get a little nervous with the laps ticking down, and as defensive moves began, James Igotzi fought back past the Emirati to move into 5th. For whatever reason, Al-Daheri was struggling to get back into his rhythm, and so his teammate Maxim Orlov decided to make his own move in the penultimate turn. Into lap 9, and the race lead would change hands again, as Eichmann's made the move on Stolchemanis, but the Latvian was refusing to accept it, and was frustrated at dropping back. That gave Eichmann's a small gap, which was a solid invitation for Powell to go for second place. Slater tried to capitalise, but he had too much to lose to make a daring move. With the Brit backing down, that held up Igotzi, and Orlov knew there was a chance. He seized it in the same corner as the previous lap. Al-Daheri needed to be strong, with Edgar Piligov on his tail and Pisodowski and De Decker right behind. The Emirati had two options, concede or defend. He valiantly chose the latter. It meant that he kept his place and Piligov lost positions instead. Powell was now leading the charge to catch Eichmann's for victory, whilst Orlov made a great overtaking move into turn 4. Alex Kubenko, Keanu Alazari and Kai Sorensen had joined the midfield squabble and wanted a piece of the action. As they raced each other relentlessly for a chance of the top 10, Akshay Bora was brought into the battle too. But it was not the way he wanted to end the season after his phenomenal drive at Genk at the start of the year. Slater was beginning to sense that he could help Powell catch Eichmann's faster, and so overtook Stolchemanis for third. But his best move was yet to come. As the Latvian tried to return the move, he was held at bay and forced to decelerate. That was enough for Orlov to pull out his signature move once more. Stolchemanis wasn't happy and made his move again on Orlov, with Miami superstar James Igotzi finding the space to get past in unison. But thanks to some steely defending from Orlov, Rashid Al-Daheri wasn't going to emulate the move just yet. He tried again halfway round the same lap, but there was no way that the Russian was going to concede to his stablemate. No matter where he looked for an opportunity, the gap disappeared just as quickly. It wasn't until the next lap when a failed overtake on Igotzi backfired and Orlov would lose out to Al-Daheri in turn 2. But there was still reason for Orlov to keep the faith, as Al-Daheri immediately made his bid for Igotzi and left enough room for his teammate to overtake too. He turned rogue later in the lap and squeezed his teammate onto the curb, and Al-Daheri had nowhere to go but onto the grass. Igotzi swept past them both in an embarrassing moment for Paralin. Heading into the last lap, there were 4 men who could realistically win: Powell started the attack and Eichmans was already trying to back him into Slater. It worked in the sense that Slater could indeed make a move, but as Powell went for Eichmans, the pair drifted wide enough that Slater could make the ultimate slingshot maneuver and grab the lead with a few corners to spare. Stoichmanis sensed an opening too and was up to third on the outside. He tried to follow Slater, but banged wheels with Powell. Not once, but twice. Game over. It was agony for Powell and Stoichmanis, who had both driven their best races to date and both earned a place on the podium. It was even more costly for Powell, as the points lost dropped him out of the top 3 in the Drivers' Championship. Orlov had managed to squeeze past Egozzi at turn 4 on the final lap, and that put him in the perfect position to capitalise. But try as he might on the last lap, Eichmans couldn't quite overhaul Slater, and so the reigning world champion completed the clean sweep of 5 heat wins, followed by victory in the final with a sensational drive, and thereby clinched the European Championship title. After winning the World Championship last year in Portugal, now Slater had won both titles his way. Ruthless and exceptional. Eichmans bagged a brilliant second place ahead of first-time podium scorer Orlov. Egozzi finished ahead of Aldeheri, with Alizari heading home Sorensen, Bora, De Decker and Anpiligov after a titanic grudge match to the flag. So Slater had triumphed with one of the overtaking moves of the season. Eichmans threw his cap into the ring for a crack at the world title, and Orlov reached the FIA Karting podium for the first time. So Slater wins the European title ahead of Matthias Ferreira and Ian Eichmans.
Worked all my hard, the team did an amazing job, everyone did their part and it was amazing and we come out on top. And then in the race we were in front, obviously starting from pole, and then the wind was quite strong, so we were struggling to get away, but we kept kind of going away in the infield, but then when we got to the straight, we kind of come back up. At the end I was a little bit faster, so I was managed to catch Powell and Ian, so then when they all battled, I just knew it was hard to get right to come off the corner, but we managed to do it and then lead into the final couple of corners. It's definitely good to win the World Champs and the European Championship, but now we work even harder to go for this 2 times World Championship.
And the last one was really challenging with Freddie 1-2. In the start was a bit difficult, but then we fight our way through to P1, and then on the last lap I got overtaken by 3 people, by Powell, Freddie and Stoichmanis. And then Powell and Stoichmanis collided with each other, and then I could take P2.
I managed to get some positions at the start, which really changed the whole outlook of the race. After that, I was in a really good rhythm. I was eager to get to the top 5 and I was enjoying some great racing with Egozzi and my teammate Aldeheri. Every lap I was trying to push as much as possible because we had no idea what was coming. It turned out my move on Egozzi was perfect because, thanks to the crash, I could secure my first podium. The team has worked so hard from the start of the year, so it's nice to give them the reward they all deserve. I couldn't really have ended the season better. It's incredible.
Freddie thoroughly deserves to be European champion. He crossed the finish line out of 4 races, 3 in first position. Got a ridiculous penalty in my opinion in SA. And then he obviously lost the race in Sarno by 0.02 of a second. So he's been the class of the field. He's made everybody else, just look up to him. It's just been an absolute pleasure to work with. Pleasure to have in the team, and if you look at his performance on track here, he won everything, every heat, final. He done the same in SA. He's just an outstanding talent who's going to go a very, very long way in motorsport.
We're not really surprised because also in game we show really good speed. We've been really unlucky in gang with a mechanical failure in the heats. In the qualifying, I was the only guy on the wet with the slick tire. So I think we've just been really unlucky because also in the final, we recovered from P20 to P6 and we show really good speed. It's been really tough because, after that race, I was in the back. I miss a lot of points from the leaders, but just me and my team, we just focus and work as hard as we could. We won the last 2 rounds, and yeah, we get back the lead of the championship. I'm really excited because also last week we showed really good speed, especially in the final, and I think we can achieve the same result in this race.
Kart Republic has 3 contenders for the OK European crown: Italy's Kimi Antonelli, Britain's Arvid Lindblad, and Brazil's Rafael Camara. On dropped scores, Camara is only 6 points behind Antonelli, but in reality, it could be any one of the trio that wins the title. But with Nikola Tsolov eager to end his season on the top of the rostrum after showing amazing pace, anything could happen in this toughest of all finales. Antonelli led Lindblad into turn 1, whilst chaos reigned behind them. Luigi Coluccio sustained a heavy impact into the barriers at turn 1, joined by Caspian Hagman and Yugo Ugochukwu, as others took avoiding action. Lindblad knew he'd need to pass Antonelli, and quickly, so having made the move, it was frustrating to then lose the lead again almost instantly to his Italian teammate. It was tense and close, but Antonelli was ahead, for now. His countryman Coluccio was incensed and angry, but fortunately unhurt. Spina made his bid for second place on Lindblad and briefly moved ahead while the dust was still settling at turn 1. But the British driver retaliated instantly. The nature of the accident brought out the yellow flags, so Antonelli's move for the lead couldn't have been timed better, nor could Lindblad's move to claim second back from Spina. So the race was neutralised, giving Lindblad a second chance to go for the lead. Ugochukwu was unhappy, as his first season in OK wasn't meant to end this way, and the debrief afterwards with Coluccio and Hagman changed nothing. On the restart, once again Lindblad was adamant that he needed to pass Antonelli rapidly. As Joe Turney and Tuka Tarpanen sprung ahead of Alfio Spina, Lindblad launched up the inside of Antonelli, knowing it could be his one chance to pass the Italian. But leaving his braking that late would of course have consequences, and he lost the lead just as quickly as he had gained it. It was a good effort, but crucially, not good enough. Tarpanen then decided to take third from Turney, and so into the hairpin, he used the gap to perfection. Spina tried to find the same move with the same door left open, but it slammed shut at the wrong moment, and Turney went off with Nikola Tsolov and Juho Valtonen. Turney would limp back to the pits. But just a corner later, and there was more drama. Gerard G and Roman Andriolo ran wide. Sadly, the latter's recovery meant the field bunched up, and he would be caught up in a race-ending crash with Andrei Zhivnov. Norton Andreasen and Valtonen had to take avoiding action, making Zuera a weekend to forget for all 4 drivers. All the chaos elevated Ruben Moya to 4th ahead of Matthias Mogato and Laurens de Sertua, until Rafael Camara began his emphatic comeback, passing the Belgian for 6th position. Lindblad was under pressure from Tarpanen, whilst Mogato was eager to overtake Moya, but the Spanish talent really wanted to end his year well on home soil. Tarpanen was hustling Lindblad for second place, but it wasn't to be, as his engine started to misfire. It would take all his effort and strength to bring the Tony Kart home in third. Camara was working his magic again, and after Morgato and he had passed Moya, Camara then made the crucial move for 4th place. If he stayed there, he could claim second in the championship race. Moya fought back for 4th position, whilst Eduardo Villa was racing with them, miraculously up in the top 10, having started 21st. Mogato eventually passed Moya again, and with Lesertua and Villa waiting in the wings, it was important for the Spaniard not to lose focus. Then it was Villa's turn for a move as he edged past Lesertua for P6. It looked like the struggle would continue until the checkered flag. Behind them, the battle was hotting up, as Martinius Stenshorn was dueling with Spina and Olin Vieira, with the stars from Sarno, Nikola Tsolov and Artem Sevrukin eager to make progress, but running out of time. It didn't quite seem right that Tsolov was caught up in this battle, having been fighting for victories all weekend up to this point. And thanks to some resolute defensive moves from Vieira, they were also running out of options. Determination paid off eventually for Tsolov, who was still fighting back after running wide at the start into turn 1. Meanwhile, Sevrukin made his own method for passing Vieira, even if it did leave the CRG driver very little room for negotiation. Lecertua had one more trick up his sleeve as he dived inside Via into turn 4 to move up to 7th in the closing stages. Evan Gilter was also on the move as he passed James Wharton, and along with the other Paralin driver in the mix, Brando Badoa, a points finish in the Australians' final OK weekend sadly faded away. Tsolov would then deny Via another position shortly after Spina had already passed him, but a penalty for Tsolov post-race sadly dropped the Bulgarian out of the points. But Kimi Antonelli ended 2021 a dominant champion. Aside from Genk, he had been the class of the field in every single final this year, to clinch an even more convincing European title than he had achieved in 2020, and to become the first OK driver ever to win consecutive European crowns. It was never in doubt throughout the weekend, and his lead over Lindblad at the line showcased how unstoppable Antonelli had become. Lindblad would run home second ahead of Tarpanen, with Kamara clinching second in the driver's title with P4. Morgato, Moya and Lecertua had enjoyed a great battle, whilst Spina, Via and Sevrukin rounded out the top 10. Lindblad took defeat with grace and maturity, only losing out to Kamara in the championship on countback, as they were actually tied for points. But for Antonelli, his moment of triumph had finally arrived, and he was going to soak up every second of it. The future certainly looks bright though, as Tarpanen's first podium as a senior could well be the first of many for the young Finn. Kimi Antonelli seals his second consecutive European crown, with Rafael Kamara and Arvid Lindblad tied on points behind him.
We started very well, we got pole position, then in the heat we show really good pace, and then in the final, after a little bit of fight with Lindblad, I just get the gap and did my pace, and then I won the race. It means a lot for me because also we didn't start very well. Also last year after the crash, it's been really hard to recover for me. After a bad start of the European Championship, it's never easy because when you lose a lot of points from the guy in front, you know that it's gonna be hard to recover. But I'm glad that we did it again.
Good result in the championship. Third place as a rookie. Can't complain. It's a good result. Of course, I would much rather be first or second, but it is still good for considering it's my rookie year. Second in the final wasn't really very good. I knew I wasn't fast enough to win on pure pace going in. I thought I had to try to make some confusion to try to push Kimi back into the group to try to get away, but I did an overtake and he just passed me straight back immediately. And then on the restart I tried again. Didn't stand a chance. I tried, but neither attempts really worked. After the restart, basically it calmed down, and then he just dropped me very, very hard. I was very slow, and we need to understand why. I did a 1-on-1 lap, which is 3/10 off. All the other laps I'm half a second off, which is quite a margin, and that's not good considering this is one of the biggest races we come to. To be half second off it's not good enough. So we need to understand why we were so slow. To make sure it doesn't happen again.
I started P4, start was really good. After I overtook Cho and tried to catch Arvid, but then the slow flags come. Then everyone was driving slowly. After slow flag, Antonelli pulling away. I stayed behind Arvid, and then I have some problem at the end of the race in the engine. But anyway, third place. For a long time, the podium, it's really nice.
For sure, only one is the winner, is under Kimi, but I put in the table all the three drivers good enough to win for sure the championship. Some circumstance or whatever you want to see make a little bit of difference. I think on the case of Andrea, this track is a favorite track for him and make a little bit more advantage because last race is here. But it's a really equal championship for all three. At the end, you are only one winner. For me, all three win the championship.
So Freddie Slater follows in the footsteps of George Russell, Lando Norris and Sebastian Vettel to become Junior European Karting Champion, and Andrea Kimi Antonelli bounces back from injury in spectacular fashion to become the first driver since Marco Ardigo in 2008 to win back-to-back European crowns as a senior. Their next goal could be the toughest fight yet, the World Championships in Brazil in December. For now, it's time to enjoy the moment, whilst the Gearbox and Academy drivers prepare for their visit to Adria in Italy, with 2 more European champions set to be crowned in KZ and KZ2 in 3 weeks' time. So from sunny Zuera, adios amigos!